the tabloids were all over me for years. I mean, every place I went, I would be followed. I would have sometimes 4 or 5 cars following me, paparazzis, taking pictures everywhere you went. And it's like the world is coming down on top of you. They're just piling on, and it's getting worse and worse. My kids go through the grocery line and they see this crap on, some magazine, some tabloid magazine, all these rumors, and there was nothing I could do because I couldn't talk to anybody about it. And nobody in the family ever really talked about it. So those were really tough times, really tough times. And then I go in, I think, you know what, I've always hated my Adam's apple. You look in the mirror and there it is. And so I found this doctor in Beverly Hills that does a tracheal shave. And I thought, you know what, nobody in the world will ever know that. I can sneak in, do this, get out. Nobody would know if I have a little bump there or not. It's not like a big deal. I think I can get away with this, just to make me feel better. And so I go in, made it under my assistant's name. In Beverly Hills, I go in, and it was Rhonda's appointment. I was just kind of following her along. When I got in there, I said, hey, look, this is for all the secrecy, and told him what he wanted to do, and this is what he does. And he goes, oh, no problem, this and that. We talked for a little bit. I left. The next day, I get a phone call from Harvey Levin. And he goes, I heard you were in to see this doctor. I guess that the other doctor in the office did Harvey Levin's boyfriend's face, and so knew this. Now, I never certainly discussed a tracheal shave with this guy or anything. Nobody but was in that room. And then all of a sudden, Harvey thinks he's got, this is like the big thing. And because all these rumors have been out there. That's the beginning of transition, and he's calling me on the phone, and I'm denying everything. I go, what the hell are you talking about? And then I said to him, I said, Harvey, I said, you print this, and it ruins lives. Do you hear me? And he printed it the next day. This is actually at a point where I really didn't know what I was going to do with my life. Chris and I had gone our separate directions, and it was mutual. I did not leave to go transition, and I just, we just weren't getting along, and she knew it and I knew it, and we thought, you know what, instead of, being tough on each other, let's just, I tell you what, you get a house, I'll get a house, we're gonna be fine, So we actually, our whole divorce took one day. I mean, we never argued over anything, never nothing. She found the house for me out in Malibu, decorated the house in one day. It was an empty house. It was an empty house at 7 o'clock. She said, you cannot come until tonight, I'll call you. I came in at 10 o'clock that night. Every TV worked, everything worked. The groceries were full. I go, how the hell did you do this? Some kids harder, some kids easier. That is my first one. I started off with my son, Brandon, because he's kind of like our little Gandhi in the family. He's a musician. He writes his own music. He's just like such a great guy. He's talented at everything he does. Great singer, guitar player, keyboarder, you name it. He does it all. So I figured I'd start with Brandon and his wife, Leah. And I brought Brandon over first. And we had this long conversation. And they all knew, because their mother had told them. And, I'd been on all these magazines, and they knew. And so Brandon says to me, he goes, Dad, I've always been really proud to be your son. He goes, every place I go, your name comes up. I go to the airport and hand them my ID, and they say, Brandon Jenner. Oh, is Bruce Jenner your dad? And I go, yeah. Oh, Bruce comes by here all the time. We just love him. He's always so nice, and this and that. And he said, I've just always been so proud to be your son. And he says, but I've never been more proud of you than I am right now. That was heavy. I cried, and he cried, and it was a great way to kind of start that process off with all my kids. I had told Kim about 2 or 3 years earlier, because Kim's very blunt. And the tabloid stuff was beginning, and you know, Kim goes, okay, what the hell's going on with you? And at some point you really kind of just get tired of, you know, lying to people and this and that. I said, she had our own home at the time, so I said, well, I'll come over to your house when nobody's there, and the two of us will sit down and we'll talk about this. So we did. I talked about all the issues that I had and this and that. But I never said I was going to transition or anything like that. But then she never brought the subject up for the next 2 years. And I was always kind of hurt by that. Asking her 2 years later, why didn't you ever, I brought that up? And she goes, I just didn't know if I should talk about it. And I said, you know what, I can get that. But when I told her, okay, first of all, I've cleared all my things, I'm going through this, you know, and the initial gasp, and she goes, well, what am I going to call you? Because nobody knew my name. What am I going to call you? And I go, well, actually, Caitlyn. And she looks at me and she goes, oh, thank God you stayed with the K's. I went, no. And just that look on her face of, And then she gave me some actually very good advice coming from her. And in some cases I've been criticized for this, but she goes, okay, if you're gonna do this, you gotta rock it. You cannot, you will be highly photographed any place you go every day, which I am. I get a picture taken by a paparazzi pretty much every day of my life now. Except in the old days, back before transition, it was some stupid picture, okay? Today, it's much different. All they want to know is what I'm wearing. Or who I'm wearing.